For the record, for the state,
Raymond Saldana.
defense. I'm
John-
sorry, state,
Daniel Rosengard.
defense.
And John Foley for the defense, Your Honor.
And Chris Church for the defense.
And are you Mr. Robbins?
Yes.
All right, you may be seated. Are both parties ready to proceed with trial, state?
State's ready.
Defense is ready, Your
All
Honor.
right. All right, we can go off the record. So everyone in this court, when you're making objections, you do not have to stand. That will make it easier for the court reporter to hear. I don't take that as a sign of disrespect. It just makes it easier for the court reporter to hear. When I was in Judge Noll's court, he said he would start fining people if you stood when you talked, which was very hard to do. So just so you know, please make sure you remain seated. And the other thing, if you're approaching a witness with a document,
Mhm.
you don't have to ask me, may I approach? Because that will make things move quicker. I'm assuming you're approaching with a document, but don't just approach the witness because you want to talk next to them. But if you have a document you want to show them, you don't have to ask the court's permission to approach the witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any other questions?
We just like to invoke the rule, Judge. If we're starting the outcry witness hearing, I'm not sure if that's something that we need witnesses to step up for.
All right, any witnesses here?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's the court's understanding that the witness that you all are calling is the outcry witness, and that both parties are stipulating that this is the outcry witness. Is that correct, state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And both parties are stipulating that this is the first person that the complainant gave information to about this alleged offense. Is that correct, state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense?
And yes, Your Honor, for clarity, that's the only thing we're stipulating to. There may be some other evidence we need to object to later on.
Okay.
Also, we did have a motion in limine that I think we agreed to everything.
All right, do y'all have copies of the motion in limine?
Yes, Judge.
Judge, regarding the motion limiting, I just need to let the witness who will be testifying know about the agreements that we have. That way it doesn't come out during testimony.
All right, well, as far as the hearing for the outcry witness, I don't think that qualifies, but
Yes.
for a trial, they
Correct.
would need to.
After the hearing, if I have a few minutes to talk to her.
Yes, you
Yeah.
will. All right, so if y'all will give me a copy of your motion in limine, please. All right, and with regards to the motion in limine, some of the requests from the defense are that the state not mention certain things during the opening statement. So are you all in agreement with this motion in limine or no?
So if the court like to go one by one. So
Yes.
So Spencer, let me.
Sure, Judge. So, most of this is, number one is about expert opinion testimony, and we just want to make sure that any experts that are proffered, that we have, a hearing as to their admissibility before, this is put to the jury.
All right, so what I can tell you about motion in limines is people may present whatever opening statements they want, what they expect the evidence to show. And then if the evidence doesn't show that, it doesn't show that. Because opening statements are not evidence. It's just what everybody expects, the evidence to show.
Yes, Judge, and to be clear, the motion is really about the conduct of the trial. It doesn't, to make sure that.
So with regards to your defense motion in limine, I want the record to be clear, because in your motion, you state that you don't want these items mentioned during jury selection, which we've already had jury selection. So that's a moot point. Opening statement and closing statement. So with regards to opening statement, I'm not going to preclude the state or the defense from stating what they expect the evidence to show. Otherwise, we should have had a hearing, which no one requested, to have every witness come before the court before actual jury trial for us to determine if an expert is going to testify or not. That was not done. So with regards to opening statements, I'm not going to preclude the state. I'm not going to preclude the defense from saying what they expect the evidence to show. And if the evidence doesn't show during trial what you stated during opening statement, then it doesn't show it. But as far as during trial, I don't know any facts of this case other than what the allegations are. You all just need to approach before you enter into anything that's in either's motion in limine. And with regards to expert testimony, we'll have a hearing before that witness testifies, and we'll do that outside the presence of the jury.
Yes.
All right, and defense, are you in agreement with the court's rulings?
Yes, sir.
All right, and it goes the same for the state's motion in limine as well. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's call in your outcry witness. And then after that, we'll call the jury in. My understanding is the jury is already present. All right, thank you.
For this outcry hearing, the state calls Alexander Reed.
Okay. Hello, hi. If you'll take a seat here, please. All right, just make sure you keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear and everyone can hear your testimony, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, and if you'll state your name for the record.
Alexandra Reed.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Hi, Ms. Reed. How old are you?
I am 33 years old.
Okay, so you're older than 18, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so do you know a child under the name of Alexander Reed? Or Alexander Robbins, I'm sorry,
Yes.
or Arabella Robbins? I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
Okay, who is she?
She is my daughter.
Okay, and how old is Arabella?
She is 10 years old.
10 years old, okay. And have you lived with Arabella all her life?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. So I want to talk about what happened the weekend of February the 7th. Okay? What happened then,
The weekend,
leading up to?
she was with her father, Jordan Robbins.
Okay, and Jordan Robbins, at the time, were you all living together?
No, sir.
Okay. Why were you all not living together?
We are divorced.
Okay, and as part of the divorce, was there a order in place?
Yes, sir.
And that order, what did it determine?
It determined joint custody, where she would go with him every other weekend. But we co-parented, so sometimes she would go on weekends that he'd be out of town, or we worked together on when he got to see her.
Okay, and that weekend, where was Arabella?
She was with Jordan Robbins and I believe his girlfriend, Josefina, and her son at a hotel, I believe they went.
Okay, and that Sunday night, was Arabella taken back to you?
Yes.
Okay, by the way, you want to get your microphone closer so that we can all hear you?
Sorry, is that better?
Yes. So tell us what happened that evening.
That evening that Arabella came back home, she had symptoms that she was sick, COVID-like symptoms. So I tested her for COVID.
Okay, what was her demeanor like that evening?
She was upset, that she was distraught. She was making statements about Jordan, like, why doesn't he take care of me? Why doesn't he love me? Why doesn't he protect me? And that she didn't want to go back if she had COVID.
Okay, Did you ask her any more questions that evening?
No, I could tell she was very distraught and she was sick. She sounded horrible. So I just told her, keeping you home from school, please just get some rest. I'll give you some medicine.
Okay, and on this day, how old was Arabella?
She was 7 years old.
Okay. So the next day, what happened?
The next day, she, of course, was sick and I tended to her, make sure she got fluids, everything, medicine. I touched on how she was feeling on just that outburst of she didn't want to see Jordan. I asked her if she still felt like that, and she said yes.
Okay, what happened next?
I didn't push her. I didn't ask any other questions that day.
What about the evening?
I believe that evening is when she told me that she was having trouble sleeping. And I asked her, well, where do you sleep at when you're with your dad? And she said, either on the sofa or in his bed with him. And I asked her why she doesn't sleep in her room. He had just bought her a really nice bed, made her room really nice for her. And she shared that he didn't have lullabies for her or a nightlight, which she's very adamant on her routine of those things. And she said the sofa was fine, it was comfortable. But she said that when she sleeps with Jordan, that it's uncomfortable sometimes. And I
Okay.
asked,
And when she mentioned about the uncomfortable sometimes, did you follow up on that question, on that detail? What did she say?
she said that he gives her hugs. And I questioned that because I told her, well, I give you hugs. Everyone gives you hugs. She told me it's not the same. And I asked her if she could show me.
So when you were talking to her, was she hesitant to tell you?
No, it's like she wanted me to know.
Okay. And when you mentioned about they're not the same and you asked her to show you, how did she show you?
She has a large stuffed animal pillow. And she grabbed that and she said that the pillow was her and that she was Jordan. She grabbed the pillow and squeezed it really tight and started doing a rocking, thrusting motion on the pillow.
Where exactly was the pillow placed?
On her lap
And where was the thrusting coming from?
from her hips, her private area.
How many times did she thrust the pillow?
She just kept thrusting it
So was it one time or multiple times?
multiple times.
Okay. Did she say anything else after?
I asked her if she could feel his whole body on, if she could feel his whole body up against her. She said yes. And I asked her if she could feel his, and she said yes, it was hard and it hurt and it was uncomfortable.
You mentioned earlier that can you feel his, and then you answered what she said. Did you say what you meant when you asked the question about clarifying what his whole body meant?
At the time, I think it was just we knew it was his penis. At that moment, I do not believe she said or identified his, like verbally identified
Did she point at any particular part of his body or her body to demonstrate as?
her private area.
So when she told you this, did you continue asking more questions?
I believe I asked how long this hug usually lasts.
And what did she say?
A couple minutes. I believe she said a couple minutes.
Did you ever ask her about when did this happen?
She said anytime that she was alone in the house with Jordan.
But she didn't give you any concrete or any,
She didn't give me particular dates or
okay. So what did you do at this point?
I gave her a hug. I told her it's going to be okay. And I may have prayed with her and then told her to get some rest.
Was this the only time where she talked about these instances with dad?
The days that followed this, she shared more.
Okay, when was the more in addition to this?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
When is the next time that she shared more?
To my best recollection, I believe it was the next day.
Okay. And what additional information did she give you the next day?
She shared that these hugs also happen on the couch, on his couch during the daytime. And that evening, she shared that he sometimes helps her in the shower.
Did she give you any details as to what happens in the shower?
Yes, she said that he would go in the shower, or he would go, I guess, in the bathroom. She was in the shower. He was not in the shower with her. But he would ask for her, I guess, washcloth or whatever she was bathing herself with. And he would wash her private area.
Did she say what her private area was?
She said, "Mom, let's just call it a circle."
And what is, just so for proper terms, did she point towards what that private area was?
Yes, her vagina.
Okay. And did she demonstrate to you how he used the washcloth?
Yes.
Can you tell us how she demonstrated to you?
She showed me with her fingers that he would rub her hard and then he would like poke, push with his fingers.
Did she make any motions?
Just like playing the piano kind of thing with just a couple fingers, not all his fingers. I don't know if it's 2 fingers or 3 fingers.
So because everything has been being written down, our court reporter, I need to be able to describe what you're showing. So lift your hand. So your hand is your palm is facing you, your hand is,
Mhm.
and how many fingers did you say?
2 or 3 fingers, not the pinky or the thumb,
And you said it was like playing the piano?
like playing the piano, like poking and pushing.
And why was that significant to you?
Because he used to do that to me when we would have intercourse.
Who is he?
Jordan Robbins,
When you were married?
married before when we were dating, before we were married, when we were dating.
Did Arabella tell you how many times this would happen?
No, she did not.
Did you ask any more questions after she told you what she told you?
I don't believe so.
With the last instance, she mentioned to you that it hurt. Did she describe how it felt?
It was uncomfortable. She did not like it. She said that when he was done, he would just hand her her washcloth and tell her to finish up. But that's all he would go in and help her with.
Did she tell you if the defendant would wash anywhere else?
No,
Is there any other details that she told you about that instance?
just that it happened more than once. I know it wasn't just a one-time thing.
Okay. And how old was she when she told you? She was still 7?
Yes.
So now let's move on to the last incident here. Did she ever give you any more details as to any other instances?
Yes, she did.
When was that?
Before I had to take her to her SANE interview,
Okay. What did she tell you there?
she shared that when she was naked, about to get into the shower, that Jordan would be sitting on the side of his bed and wave his hand for her to come to him. And that he would either hug her, like her facing him, or I guess her face was over his shoulder, and he'd be doing the hug and the thrusting.
Okay. And did she tell you how she felt?
Uncomfortable, it hurt, it that this time she had said that let's call his PP a triangle, and that she could feel his hard triangle pushing on her circle, which was vagina. And that other times, again, she would be naked and he would do the come to her, and she would be facing like outward, like she had her back against him, and he would be thrusting his triangle on her hiney, which she said, let's call that, I believe it was a rectangle or a square, some other shape. She said that these times when he would let her go, that he would be wet and in turn get her wet. And he would tell her to go and get cleaned up.
And she shared this to you when? You said before her saying? Okay. Is there any other instances that she shared with you that you remember?
Not that I am,
Do you remember making a statement to?
yeah, I can, yes, I do remember another incident, but you can,
When was that?
I know, I believe it was September, maybe. It was around Halloween and
What year?
2022.
Okay. And it was around Halloween, you said? Well, September would be around Halloween, but what happened then?
She shared with me, she brought up how the previous Halloween she was with Jordan and we, my husband, myself, and our two kids, we came to Jordan's house to trick or treat, and Arabella was with him. And we asked her if she wanted to come trick or treat with her brother and sister. And she said no, that she wanted to stay with Jordan. And she said that she wanted to come with us, but she had to say no to protect herself. Because she didn't want him to get upset or he would hurt her harder.
Okay, did she tell you what she meant by that?
She said that at his old house that he had forced his triangle in her circle and she felt it in her stomach. It was hard and it hurt. And when he was done, that she felt like she had to go to the bathroom. And that she went to the bathroom and that there was blood was in the toilet and a little in her underwear. She tried to clean it off so he didn't see and he wouldn't get upset. She said that she felt sick to her stomach, that her stomach hurt. And she went back to bed and pretended to be sleeping.
Did she tell you when this happened?
She said she was 4 years old.
You mentioned that this was at his old house. Is that old house in Bear County?
It's in Universal City. I believe that's Bear County.
Okay. And the other two instances that she was talking about, did she say where it happened? Or the other three instances, I suppose?
His new house.
And is his new house in Bear County?
I believe so.
Okay. So after that September 2022 disclosure, is there anything else that she told you?
I can't remember. I don't believe so.
Okay, just one more question. So when she mentioned, well, I'll leave it like that. That's the way. That's what. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Reed, my name is John Floyd. I need to ask you a few questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
I want to kind of pin down kind of an order of events of timeline to the best of your ability, okay? When was it, do you remember approximately the date when Arabella first made an allegation against her dad?
February of 2022, I believe. It was the weekend that, well, it wasn't the weekend, it was the week after she had come back from his house.
And prior to that, there had already been a CPS investigation regarding neglect alleged against Mr. Robbins.
Yes, sir.
And you talked to her, I'm assuming that would have been back in 2020, correct?
I believe so. That report was made by Dr. Stafford, her pediatrician.
But you would have talked to your daughter about that. That's how it went to the doctor, correct?
She did not that report, I took Arabella to the doctor and she made that outcry to the doctor in the office. She had not told me anything prior to that.
And so then in February of 2022, so I'm clear, that's when you first heard any allegation about them sleeping in the same bed and what you described earlier about his triangle touching her circle. Is that right?
I knew they slept together, and Jordan and I had talked about how she was getting older and how she really needed to sleep in her own bed. And he had agreed that, you know, he was going to get her a nice bed and get her room all fixed up, and that he was going to work on that. But that date, that was the first time she had ever told me what was going on in his bed.
And in fact, he did all those things. You testified earlier that he had set up her room, he had a bed, all of that, but she was scared to sleep alone in her room.
She wanted lullabies and a nightlight, but he would make her sleep with him when they were alone.
Okay. And so the extent of the conversation on the first date of the outcry was that he was hugging her in bed and that his triangle was touching her circle. Is that right?
That first day, I don't believe she used triangle and circle, but the context, yes, that's correct.
And did you guys ever discuss body parts? Did you ever talk about using shapes before?
No, we've talked about body parts, hoo-ha being vagina and pee-pee being penis. But when she outcried, she used shapes. That was the first time I had ever heard shapes be used.
Okay. And so your testimony earlier that the next day is when she gave you more details.
I believe so.
And you were talking to her about what she had said the day before.
I was asking her if she still felt the same way about Jordan.
And that's when she talked about the details you testified earlier to about these things happening in the shower. Is that right?
Yes, the next day she shared about the couch and the shower.
That there was time when there were hugs on the couch.
Yes.
And when his same kind of language was used, that his triangle touched her circle.
Yes, and her hiney that was either a square or a rectangle.
And she's told you.
Or, sorry, I don't know that. No, that wasn't that day. The hiney part wasn't that day. I apologize.
Okay. So, and just to be clear, so that on the second day, you were talking to her about what she had said before about him hugging her and being uncomfortable sleeping in the bed with them, right?
The second day is when she told me. The first day that she came back, I didn't. The first day she came back, I saw that she was distraught and sick and I just let her go to sleep. It was the second day is when she told me the first incident. And then the next day after that incident is when she shared a couch in the bath, I believe.
And so we're clear, she told you on the second day that that he would help her when she was taking a shower, right? And that he would wash her her private parts, the genitals, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you understood that to be her vagina, right?
Yes, sir.
And that he touched her vagina with his fingers.
Yes, sir.
In fact, you used a motion with your hands like it was playing a piano. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is your understanding that he would push his fingers into her vagina? Is that what she told you?
No, she did not. She did not. She said it was the area. She didn't say he pushed his fingers in her circle, just around there.
Okay, so just so we're clear, I think you testified earlier that when he would wash his private area, her private area, she wanted to call it a circle. Right?
Yes.
And that he would rub his hands and poke and push with his fingers. And you said 2 or 3 fingers.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that what she told you that day?
I believe so.
And so based on what she told you, you believe that he had pushed his fingers into her vagina.
What she showed me that he was doing to her, he had done to me, and that wasn't fingering. And so I knew what she was showing me when she showed me with her fingers. It was like this foreplay that he liked to do right before he stuck his penis in my vagina.
And
Or
that's okay. Based on your recollections of your relationship with him, you understood that he was putting his fingers on her vagina?
in that area, and he wasn't.
Let me ask it this way. Did you understand that his fingers would have penetrated the lips of her vagina?
Could I have parties approach, please?
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Reed, just maybe we can kind of wrap this part of it up. So I want to ask you again, what exactly did Arabella tell you happened to her when she was in the shower?
She said that he would grab her washcloth from her hands and rub her private area and push and poke her circle.
Okay. And that was the extent of what she told you. You didn't ask her any more questions?
From my recollection. Yes, I believe that's all that's what I can remember.
Okay. We talked about earlier that, I guess, what did you do with that information?
I reported it to I believe I called the first officer I spoke with, and he gave me direction to go to the Schertz police station.
Okay. And so we talked about earlier, that's when you took Arabella in for the SANE examination?
No, sir, not at that point in time. That did not happen till I believe the next month.
So you think about a month passed between the time that Arabella outcried to you about the allegations in the shower and the time she did her SANE exam?
I believe so. I know appointments.
All right, so everyone, this is an outcry hearing. The only question is, you both have stipulated that this is the outcry witness. The only question is, what was she told? That's it. Anything else, you all, if there's an issue regarding her credibility or whatever you all want to do, That's for cross-examination in front of the jury. The jury is already here. They've been here since 9:30 because everybody told me this hearing wasn't going to take that long. So the only issue is what she told to her. The whole thing about who did she call after she heard this, that's something that will go before the jury. She's just an outcry witness according to both parties. So what did the alleged complainant tell her? That's it.
Your Honor, I would ask for some latitude. I mean, the state was allowed to get into quite a bit of background setting and narrative leading up to these discussions.
No,
We should be able to clarify the timeline.
Ask her the timeline when she was, if you want to ask her when the complainant told her this, fine. But as far as who this witness told after she was told that, that's not relevant for an outcry hearing. An outcry hearing is just who is the first adult that was told and what did they tell them? That's it. If I'm wrong in my interpretation of the law, let me know. But my understanding, an outcry witness is the first adult that was told.
That's
And
correct.
what did they tell them? If I'm wrong, let me know. But there is not any of this latitude about who did she tell after the complainant told her something. That's something for cross-examination in front of jury. This is just an outcry hearing. And if I'm wrong in my interpretation of what the law is, let me know. I am willing to accept if I'm wrong. But if not, the only thing this witness is testifying for at this outcry hearing is what she was told. And what she is told is supposed to be related to the allegations that are in the indictment. And my understanding is that both parties have agreed if she was told something that was not in the allegations within the indictment, she's going to be instructed that she's not to discuss that. So that's where we are.
And Your Honor, I agree with your assessment about the law. The question is what testimony that she is going to offer as hearsay.
Which is what the complainant told her that are in the allegations of the indictment. Anything that's outside the allegations that are in the indictment, both parties have already agreed that she is not to testify to that. So that's what we're looking at. Now, if you want to pin her down on what date, fine. This was told to her, fine. If you want to pin her down on what specifically was said, fine. But anything outside that, then we're not in an outcry hearing. Where we are is everybody is testing out a witness before they're before a jury. So ask questions that are specifically for an outcry hearing.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, that's what I'm attempting to do.
All right.
So what I'm trying to understand, just so that we can get through this hearing, is there was about a month that passed between the time she first told you about the allegations and going in for the same exam, right?
I believe so.
And that's when she told you, and you had already reported this to police and gone through all that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that prior to the same exam, you had another discussion with her? I believe that was your testimony earlier, is that before the same exam, there was another set of allegations that came out.
If that's what I just stated, I believe so.
Okay. And then about the Halloween incident, when I guess the final round of allegations came out. That was about 8 months later. Is that right? 6, 8 months later.
I believe so.
Okay. And again, you asked her at that point what had happened. If she was afraid to go to Dad's house for trick-or-treating.
No, she went to Dad's house. That it shared a memory of when that past Halloween she was at Dad's house, and myself, my husband, and my 2 other kids, we went to his house to trick or treat, and we asked her if she wanted to come with us trick or treating, and she said no, that she wanted to stay there. She said that she had to say no to protect herself because she didn't want Jordan to be mad so she wouldn't get hurt harder.
Okay. And forgive me, but this was after she did her SANE exam, right? This is quite a bit after that.
I believe so.
Okay,
yes.
just so I'm clear. And in that particular situation, she said that he forced his triangle and she felt something in her stomach.
She said he forced his triangle in her circle and she could feel it in her stomach. And that it was hard and it hurt.
I'd pass the witness, Your Honor.
Further questions?
All right. All right, any argument from either side?
Well, I guess because it's my request, I'll go first. Just, Your Honor, the offenses that he's being charged with are in the indictment. It's an aggravated sex assault of a child, indecency contact.
Okay, so here's the thing, slow down so the court reporter can pick it up and you all can remain seated so the court reporter can hear.
So this is 3 counts, aggravated assault with a child, and indecency contact 2 counts. The manner and means are displayed in the indictment. Everything that she's saying, she indicated that she is the first adult. Arabella was under the age of 18. And everything that she has articulated is regarding this particular indictment. There's nothing outside that I see that she has testified to that are not in the indictment. So we ask that the court grant the motion and allow the witness to testify to the hearsay statements made by Arabella.
All right, defense.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No
Take me a
problem.
minute. Your Honor, the outcry statute is very clear. It's the first person that she gave details of the sexual of the offense, and in this case, it's a sexual assault. The very first statements that were made were made in February, from what I understand, of 2020. There was a long passage of time. The police investigated. She had a SANE exam done. So after that, we have all sorts of testimony being given to other individuals about this offense.
All right, so both parties stipulated that this was the outcry witness.
Yes, Your Honor. And what I'm trying to do, I think it needs to be narrowed down to the first set of allegations that we heard from, as far as her hearsay testimony goes. The rest of it surely can come in at trial from the witness herself.
So which statement are you saying that this witness had made? And I'm sorry, you may step down. Which statement are you saying that this witness made that she is the first person that the complainant outcried to? Which statement?
It would be our assertion, Your Honor, that it would be the February 2020 statements. 2022 statements that were made over a course of 2 days, where she alleged that Mr. Robbins was hugging her, that she could feel his triangle against her circle, and the incident in the shower that she reported the next day, when she said that he touched her with his fingers and that he touched his vaginas with his fingers and poked and prodded, and that testimony. I think anything after that, Your Honor, falls outside of the outcry statute.
All right. Well, with regard to that, it will then depend, because I did hear testimony from this witness that the complainant saw a sane person, or it was reported. Am I correct?
Yes.
So then whether she testifies to more than that will depend on exactly what was said to the same person. State?
Right, and at this point, so there's new details that are provided, so that would be a new outcry. So there was details at the beginning that were made regarding being in the bed, and then the next one was being in the bathroom, and then the next one was being where she was naked in the bathroom, and he sits her on the lap, and then the last one was the aggravated count, which was when she was 4 years old. So these are instances of new with different details. And she is the first adult. So this is why we believe that she is the outcry witness for those 4 different instances.
Well, the problem is the court doesn't know that, because I don't know what was said to the same person. What I have is you have this witness. The defense appears now to be stipulating that the February 2022 date, she's the first person that she told that to. And then there seems to be an intervening statement between the complainant and a nurse. I don't know what was said with regards to that. So all I know for sure is that the February 2022 date, that's the first that was said. So in order for me to make a ruling on whether or not she can testify to anything else, I would need to know what was said to the same person. For example, if the details that she's provided on other dates was not said to the same person, then she's the outcry for that.
Well,
But yes,
in that case, then we would like to introduce the same records into evidence. We did file a business record affidavit within 14 days. So the court can make that distinction and see exactly what the child told the same to show that there was nothing regarding the allegations in September that she's talking about.
right, the problem with the court allowing that is even though the same records you filed it as a business records affidavit, there's still hearsay within the business records affidavit. And I'm assuming, I know you're not offering it for the truth of the matter asserted. You're just offering it to say, this is what she told this person. I still won't know the entirety of it because I'll need the same person to come in to say that this is a synopsis or it's not a synopsis.
So then in that case, Judge, in the alternative, what we would ask is to hold, to defer your ruling on that last instance until the same nurse
Yes,
testifies, so we can rule out that, and then at that point, maybe we can make a ruling on this.
yes. So the testimony of the February 2022 date, that witness can testify about that. And then state, of course, if you wish to recall the witness after other evidence is presented to the court, then I will consider that. So for now, she can testify to the February 2022 date. All right, Deputy Laura, if you can line the jurors up and state you want to speak to your
Yes.
witness.
And then just to get clarification, the statements that were made before the same, are those also, she allowed to testify to that?
She's allowed to testify to any statements that are in the indictment that are allegations that were made before the conversation with the same nurse.
Thank you.